Hedge Knight, the real history of medieval borderland warriors. We are used to seeing the knight as a symbol of honor and a protector of the weak. Yet in medieval reality, what was often called a hedge knight was not a hero, but one of the most dangerous forms of social instability. These were landless warriors who lived and operated in unstable frontier regions beyond the consistent reach of authority. In this video, we will refer to them as Borderland Knights, men whose survival depended on navigating the shifting spaces where the law ended before the forest even began. The very idea of being borderland comes from the notion of a boundary, but in the Middle Ages, a boundary was not a line on a map and not a legal concept. It was a space of tension, a zone where central authority was felt only faintly, like a distant echo of decrees that arrived late or never arrived at all. Borders were constantly shifting. They changed with the outcomes of minor wars, dynastic conflicts, and private agreements. In such places, war ceased to be an event. It became the background of life, a familiar noise upon which all existence was built. It was within this environment that the Borderland Knight emerged, not as a hero of ballads and not as a tournament champion, but as a practical response to the absence of stable order. The Borderland Knight was not a symbol of honor. He was a function. By origin, he was almost always a nobleman, but most often a nobleman without inheritance, a younger son, a loser in a local feud, a warrior not tied to a single lord, formally an aristocrat. In reality, a man without the main feudal anchor. Land and subjects. His capital was his armor, his horse, and his military experience. His status rested not on documents, but on reputation and the ability to apply force. The economy of his life was an economy of instability. He rarely served one lord for long. More often, short-term agreements, temporary alliances, arrangements that lasted only as long as they remained profitable. Today, guarding a river crossing, tomorrow collecting tolls, the day after controlling a road, the line between lawful collection and outright banditry was thinner than a dagger's edge. In conditions of weak oversight, any right could instantly become an instrument of pressure. Small wars formed his daily routine, not campaigns, but skirmishes over forests, villages, water sources, or sections of road. In such moments, the Borderland Knight was everything. At once a mercenary, a commander of a small retinue, and an independent force. Sometimes, this logic led directly to banditry. Noble birth did not protect against degradation. It merely gave violence a respectable form. That is why Borderland Knights were feared, not because of their strength, but because of their unpredictability. An ordinary knight was embedded in a hierarchy. A Borderland Knight was not. He knew the terrain, he knew the weaknesses of the region, he knew the roots and the habits of the people who used them. Today he could be a protector, tomorrow a threat. Payment for protection gave him information, and in the world of the frontier, information often cost more than gold. Yet these men were also respected, because in an era when the state had not yet monopolized violence, the Borderland Knight was often the only source of real force. P's concept of honor lacked romance. It was a harsh market category reputation. Break your word and you lose your next contract. Without a contract, you became a common bandit, and bandits were hanged quickly. The French rodiers, the Italian condottieri, the warriors of the English marches. Different names, but the same function. People who filled the void between major political powers. The deeper meaning of the Borderland Knight is simple. He was a product of a weak state, a time when personal strength mattered more than a seal, when law worked neither everywhere nor always. It ended where the blade could no longer reach. The Borderland Knight stood between system and anarchy. He was both a symptom of collapse and an instrument of temporary stabilization. Strip away the romance and what remains is an armed professional who turned the sword into his only source of life. And the question remains, to what extent is the modern order we take for granted built upon figures like these? those who assumed responsibility where the law simply could not reach.